Indiana Learning, having some fun live stream with our digital learning coaches. This has been a great day of learning. We've talked all about fun with Canva, creative ways for professional development, some shortcuts. Even all of my tech friends were like, I didn't know about those. And today we are welcoming Adam Hofer. He's coming to us to share some surprise and delight. I can't wait to be surprised. Adam, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've been popping in the sessions all day today, and it has been a lot of fun just to see what everyone's wearing and all these tips and tricks. It has been a lot of fun to just check in and see what's going on.
Yeah, so let's carry on the tradition of sharing something fun that you guys do. You were telling me about a special way that you do a gift for everybody in your big family. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so this actually was from my wife's family. We do like stocking gifts or sock gifts, and it's something my wife's mom is really about. So my mother-in-law loves stocking gifts, and so instead of buying big gifts for everybody, it's just a fun way to like find little trinkets, find little things that like remind you of that person. So I was sharing with Lena, my wife's grandma always gets us like travel shampoo. Like, why? I don't know. That's just I can expect I'm going to get something travel size probably from her. So just those little fun things, for dad, I'm going to get like a flashlight or, something that he probably picked up at the gas station or the Rural King probably right before we got together. So you just never know what's going to happen and what you're going to get in your sock gift. So that's kind of fun. We love doing that. So
it is fun, and that's a surprise and delightful. I love miniaturized things, so if I got a whole sock full of miniaturized things, that would be surprising and delightful to me.
Absolutely.
But with that, let's go ahead and let you surprise and delight us. Take it away, Adam.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lena. I'm so excited for this idea of like reclaiming fun. And I'm really excited to kind of dive into this idea of like surprise and delight. And I'm just excited to kind of share with you. So, as kind of Lena's already introduced me, but a little bit about me. I am a secondary English language arts teacher from Southeastern Indiana. I'm from Brookville, Indiana, which is kind of right along the Ohio border. And I'm also a technology integration coach in our district. So I spent the last 14 years here at Franklin County Community Schools and a bunch of different roles within the English department. So I'm excited to really kind of jump into this idea of surprise and delight and what that means for your classroom and for kind of your well-being as a person when we're thinking about reclaiming the fun. So let's get into this. So when I think about this idea of surprise and delight, I had to reflect back to a time, it was about 4 or 5 years ago. This is my 14th year of teaching, so it really hit around year 10. I don't know if this is everyone's experience, but I kind of started getting this, like, it was kind of a rut. Like, it's not like where I wanted to necessarily like leave my job or anything like that. I was just like, I needed something different. I needed a change. And I wasn't quite sure how to do that. How do I, make something different? And it kind of happened in that same time. We were kind of looking at shifting people around in the department. And so it kind of was, that was the spark. I was like, all right, maybe I'll shift. So I moved from teaching mostly 11th and 12th graders to teaching 9th graders most of the day. And that was like a big shift for me, but man, have I loved it. And it has like, they surprise me all the time. If you've ever worked with 9th grade students, like, they're a surprise and a delight every day. But I remember that summer, and I think it was in 2018, I went to that summer of e-learning conference, one of the tech conferences local to us. And the speaker there kind of shared this idea of surprise and delight. And I think he was from like Eminence, Kentucky. I was trying to find his name. I couldn't quite find it. But he shared how he kind of introduced us into his school. And that little nugget, just this idea of surprise and delight, has stuck with me ever since then. And, his is like school wide and teachers are kind of all on board. But I was like, I can do that in my own class. And so that's kind of where this came from as I'm thinking about how we can surprise and delight in our own classrooms. So when you think about, why this now, I think these concepts, these ideas, you're probably doing some of them, I would say. And maybe you can adapt some of the things. And that's what I like about this simple kind of phrasing of surprise and delight, is it can be adapted to your needs, your classrooms, your grade levels. It can be unique to you. And it really just creates a culture of fun. Like in that year 10, I was like not having fun anymore. And like, I like to be like friendly and jovial and laugh. And I just was missing that. And so this really kind of helped me kind of tap into that. And, I teach at the secondary level, and people are like, secondary level, like, we're not doing this. But man, has it changed? Even my 12th graders, they love this kind of stuff. It really kind of fosters that environment and really builds in some fun activities and kind of fun kind of underlings of the class and of the kind of culture of my class. But it really does hinge around this kind of one kind of key idea. And when we look at this, it all kind of boiled down. When I was thinking through this, I was like, what does this all boil down to? And it really boils down to this idea of vulnerability. I was kind of in that rut. I was not, I wasn't enjoying every day. And so I was thinking about, like, okay, what's getting in the way? And I was thinking, I'm getting in the way. I'm not willing to necessarily be vulnerable or be silly, or kind of act goofy. Now my kids are like, Mr. Hofer, please stop singing. Like, why did you turn that little phrase that you just said into a song? They're like, cut it out. And so being a bit more vulnerable has been kind of really foundational to this idea of surprise and delight for me. And that may resonate with you when you're thinking about, how can I incorporate this? Am I the one kind of getting in the way of the fun? I still follow the rules. We still do what we're supposed to do, but getting that kind of vulnerability is like a key piece, I think, to this, and a really a foundational piece, I think, to a successful kind of surprise and delight culture. And so if you don't know anything about vulnerability, you probably have heard of Brene Brown, but this idea that really does create this birthplace of joy and creativity. Like, that's what I wanted. Like, I wanted more joy in my class. I wanted to feel more joy, and I wanted to be able to kind of use my creativity and allow students to show theirs. And so that was like a really important piece for me, and I think is an important part of this kind of idea of surprise and delight. But also in my master's work, I got introduced to this book by Thomas Newkirk, which he talks about kind of the emotional underlife of learning. And when I was reading, he talks about vulnerability. It like conditions us for learning, and I was like, ding, 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 like that is it. Like, my kids, if we can get into this vulnerable place, like, it can open up this idea of learning. So what I'm going to share with you today is a kind of a list of things that I do to kind of tap into some of this surprise and delight and this vulnerability. And it will look different, I think, in every context, but I hope maybe you can use some of these ideas and adapt them to kind of what your needs are and how that looks for you in your context. So when we think about this kind of pathway, if we're more vulnerable, it's going to lead us to a place that is more fun and creative. And ultimately, there's going to be learning happening. And I think that is a piece that I was afraid of. I was afraid that the learning wasn't going to happen, but it is. And it is, it's fun, y'all. It really is a lot of fun. So I hope that some of this stuff can be helpful to you. So these are kind of the 5 things I'm going to kind of break down during our time here, as we kind of look at, what are some ways you can surprise and delight. And again, I don't think any of these are like revolutionary, but I hope there's maybe a nugget you can take away from these ideas. All right, so we're going to look at countdowns, what I call student spotlights. We'll look at Easter eggs, transforming your space, and celebrations. That's kind of a way we kind of break down these different ideas and ways to surprise and delight. All right, so if I look at my first one, this is where we talk about countdowns. And when you think about building anticipation, this is a great way to do that. So when we think our students aren't paying attention, they are so paying attention. I love to just like on my whiteboard put like countdown, 5 days left, 4 days left. And they're like, Mr. Hofer, what's in 4 days? What's in 3 days? What's in 2 days? And so that's a piece that I think has been like fun. They don't know. Sometimes, I mean, I get a little teachery. It's like, it's a project. I was counting down to a project. Sorry, y'all. Like, you got that. But also there can be fun things. Maybe it's an activity, or maybe we're going to play games that day, or, they all love some of those interactive games and those types of things. So it could be that as well. But something I'm actually doing right now when I think about countdowns is kind of in this holiday season, I take that song 12 Days of Christmas and I break it down each 12 days leading up. So today, actually, it was day 2. So we were on 2 turtle doves today. And what I do is I just create slips of paper that have these images on them. And each day I hide them. I hide them in my classroom in the morning. And kids come in like searching, trying to find the 12 drummers drumming or the six geese a laying. Like they're looking for these like little slips of paper. And I have like little prizes. I have like candy or pencils or little like toys, just little things I pick up at the Dollar Tree or whatever. And kids love it. I was like shocked the first time I did it how much they got into it. And all of them, my ninth graders to my 12th graders, have just been about it. And this is now would have been my fourth year minus the pandemic, but I have my first group of freshmen are seniors now, and they're like, I didn't find one my freshman year. Like, I'm doing it this year. I'm gonna find one. And it's like so exciting to see them like celebrating, and I get a lot of joy out of it. And so I don't know if this is like, tapping into that like vulnerability thing, but what it does do is it starts to create that culture of fun. Like they're having fun, I'm having fun. Like during passing periods, they're just like gouging all over my room. It's like insane before the bell rings. So it's just a lot of fun for me. And so having these like things that kids can anticipate something that's coming has been really, really fun and creates that kind of surprise and delight. They don't know what's coming until that day reveal. And that has been really, really enjoyable and kind of has shifted kind of my focus for creating fun. So that's kind of the first idea or some ways you can kind of build anticipation. The next thing I want to talk about is what I'm calling like a student spotlight. And really what this is more about is about having students create things, getting their interest engaged in class. And that allows and kind of sparks them into some of these fun ideas. And it really does start to tap into that idea of vulnerability. And so I have the first thing I have listed here is, the first day I used to be a teacher who would pass out my syllabus, go over those rules and expectations the first day of class. I felt that was pretty typical at the secondary level in the district I'm in. But I saw that it wasn't connecting, and so I realized I needed to change. And seeing several other people trying it out, station rotations at the high school level, it works. It totally works. Like first day, my kids are up and moving, and one of those stations is for them to create a playlist. I asked them to like curate their own playlist that kind of represents who they are. And I think a lot of teachers do this, but that has been like so great. I get to know my kids like day one, like what genre of music do they like? What artists do they really enjoy? Some of them put songs in there like to see what I like or see if I will like it. So that has been a lot of fun just to kind of see them create those playlists. And what I do is I try to hold on to them. And when we have like a work day or a workshop day later in the semester, I'll like put on the board like today's music curated by, and then I'll put their name and like play their playlist. And it's kind of fun. They're like, it is kind of they're have to be vulnerable and sharing some of the songs that they like. So that has been really, really cool thing to see. And who doesn't love different songs and music? And it really does show a piece of who we are. So it kind of, again, really taps back into that idea of, being real, having that relationship and building that relationship. So all that is underpinning this idea of reclaiming fun, building those relationships with our students. I also talk about creating for authentic audiences. This will be my fourth year of doing the NPR Student Podcast Challenge. I love doing these types of things. So anything that gets my students creating things for those authentic audiences has really been exciting. It really has kind of transformed the way I think about how I'm teaching things like research. So no longer do I have them do like a formal research paper. Like they're doing such deeper research when they're doing this podcast, and it's a lot of fun. They are like being able to amplify their voice and share their voice, and through a place like NPR, they provide great resources and feedback, and so it's been a lot of fun. So if you have any interest in that, I would totally suggest looking into the Student Podcast Challenge. I've had a few kids who have made it to kind of the honorable mentions or the final rounds of that, but it doesn't matter if they win. Like they have created phenomenal projects, and I had to be vulnerable the first time I ever did it. Like I asked my wife, I was like, "Would you do a podcast with me?" She's like, "About what?" And I think we titled it like the band nerd and the mean girl or something, because we talked about like our high school personas. Like I was totally the kid in band, and she admits she was kind of like, a mean girl a little bit. So it's kind of fun, like kind of reflect back on that and talk about our high school days. So those things are really important. And just that authentic sharing, again, is a way to kind of help students spotlight their opinions, their voices. And this is all building that kind of foundational vulnerability, getting them to be open, and all that's going to connect to learning ultimately. All right, this next one, excuse me, is our Easter eggs. And if you might be familiar with this idea of including Easter eggs. A lot of times they're in film. You wait till after the credits. If you've watched any type of like Marvel movie, there's going to be some kind of thing at the end that's going to tease you into the next movie. And so Easter eggs, I love doing. It's so easy, and kids really do eat it up. So this idea that you can hide or embed things that are kind of tucked away within, say, a Google slide or a Google Doc, or we use Canvas. And so it's really easy to create like a separate page that just links to that really quickly. And so when kids click on that, it takes them to this page, and it's like, you found the Easter egg. Or sometimes I have like memes embedded in there. And so I created some here today. So, on this slide, I have embedded 3 Easter eggs. And, some of them maybe are easy to find, some of them aren't. And so if you scan around, you think, okay, what's different? Sometimes I'll do this to kind of start kids out, like, can you find anything hidden here? And like, if you're a fan of that, like, what's different, like this could be something for you for sure. So, up here in this little red light, there's a little dot, and I can't click on it here because this isn't the live presentation, but this would take you to a YouTube video. Or down here on this light, I have like a blank text box, and this would take me to another slide in this slide deck. Or you can see this little exclamation point underline. So these little links just get people out, and kind of get them looking. Sometimes I give like points for it. Sometimes there's like little trinkets or treats or whatever. So digital Easter eggs, love them. Love putting memes on them. Kids are all about those. So that has been really fun to include along the way as well. All right, so this next one's about transforming your space. And I think this is the place where we have to kind of look at our own vulnerability as teachers sometimes, because our classrooms they're our space. Like where we feel comfortable, they're where we work every day. And so, giving up some of that control can be difficult at times. And it really did kind of, challenge my own vulnerability and kind of how I had done things for so long. And I feel very fortunate. I was lucky enough to get a grant, and through my principal at the time and superintendent at the time, they were really kind of interested in the idea of like flexible seating, and we really hadn't done that at the secondary level. And so we kind of like piloted this little program and got some funds. And this was all pre-COVID. And so, we had this like really cool transformative like classroom setting that I was able to use. And so that first year I taught freshmen, I was working with them in this like flexible space. And I know that's not everybody's situation, but I think that you can transform your space no matter what you have. And I had to give up some of that control a bit when I was thinking about how do I structure this classroom. I had, tables in pods and very collaborative kind of grouping as kind of my focus. And I had to kind of think through, how was I going to do the normal seating and that kind of stuff. And I realized kids, they can choose. And I went with it. I leaned into it. It was nerve wracking those first couple of days to see, how kids were going to feel it out, but they loved it. And it works so well. Now, this is not my classroom currently, as, we have to do distancing and stuff, but I hope that, once we can kind of, relax some of those restrictions, that I can go back to this type of seating, because it works so well. Watching my kids kind of collaborate with each other was beyond what I could ever imagine. And it really challenged me too, because I kind of made it a goal of mine to stay less around my desk at that time too. So I would take my Chromebook and just go sit at these pods with kids, and I got to really interact with them and get to know them. And I think that idea of like surprising and delighting when their teacher walks over, like that's a surprise for them. But then to like have that ability to talk to them and really interact with them, like it was a delight for me. like learning about them, learning about their hobbies, their interests. Like that's a piece that I really miss right now, is just that kind of closer interaction. We're working on it. We're able to do a few things, through distancing, but it's not the same. We're able to do some things digitally, but those are things that I really do miss, is that kind of close, kind of collaborative seating that I had, because it just created a different atmosphere in my classroom. So you're thinking about how can your space become a space that involves student in the decision making. So I try to leave a lot of my walls bare at the beginning. Trying to add some of their work, other things to kind of help. They can, when they make posters, those become my posters. When they make projects, those become projects that hang up in my room. And again, I think a lot of you are doing this, and it's not like, about introducing something totally new, but how can you maybe think about how it can increase the fun in your classroom is, like, I think so cool, and a big piece of like where we're going and how we can like get kids to get re-engaged with each other, because I think they're missing that. We know that they are missing that interaction. So transforming your space is a way to really think through how you can maybe be more vulnerable and give up some of that control and kind of have that conversation with the students in your room. All right, so the last thing then is the celebrations. So this idea of like celebrating with each other. So this idea of brag boards. Something I do is I mail postcards home every Friday. Postcard mailing, our stamps are way cheaper than regular stamps, so I would really encourage you to do that. And something I'm really excited to share with you. This is actually something that my wife stumbled upon and uses often, and now it's something that I want to use. So, idea of a confetti high five. Like, who doesn't love it? So when I call a student up to celebrate them, I get out this little confetti high five. You're gonna love it. You have them high five you, and oh, you didn't see any of the confetti. That's so sad. It's such a cool little thing. So let me try again. Woo, confetti. It just like always kind of spills out. So it's a great way to celebrate. It's a lot of fun, makes a big mess, but it's a great way to really celebrate kids in what you're doing. So ultimately, we know that our students crave to be known. They want that relationship. They want that connection. And by surprising and delighting them, you are going to get to know them so much better, and they're going to get to know you so much better, and it is going to create a classroom culture that is fun and reclaims the fun. So thank you so much. It's been just a delight to be with you all today.
Oh my gosh, Adam, that confetti high five has me nearly dying. Watch out, Amazon. We're about to get a bunch of orders
I
come
know.
in.
I
That
know.
was amazing. I love the idea of just turning the things that you normally do up a little notch to make them a little more surprising, a little more delightful, just like you.
Exactly.
You are surprising and you are delightful, Adam. Thank you
Well,
so much. And everybody else watching, stick around. We've got more fun coming up with Chris Young to wrap up our day of fun. You don't want to miss it. Bye, Adam. Merry
bye.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.